My friends and family all the time say that I'm like stuffy, and because I like movies that are from A24 or whatever. I like movies from Martin Scorsese or what have you.
Yeah.
But
You're a film bro snob.
I'm not, though. I love fun movies, and this is a fun movie, especially one that's done well.
Yeah, some of the behind the scenes of that is they were filming on set in a lot of locations, and they actually had to postpone filming on multiple days because of the weather got so bad, because they were also filming in the correct season. So then the writer's strike happened.
Guys, if you don't face your fears, you ride them. God dang it, what are you doing? I feel like the score really enveloped me in the movie too. Like if you looked over at me, even when it wasn't a song playing, it was a score. Like literally probably half of the length of the movie, I was rocking back and forth in my seat. Twins! We got twins!
Welcome to Backseat Directing,
Where we talk about movies, TV shows, comics, and more.
we're your hosts,
Andrew.
and Aaron.
We put out new episodes every Monday and Thursday.
And today we're reviewing the awesome movie Twisters.
3, 2, 1, action! Bum.
Andrew, if you feel it, chase it. I said, if you feel it, chase it. You don't face your fears, you ride them.
Can you rig that drone to collect data?
I'm not back.
Whatever's in there, it's big and it's moving fast.
Boring isn't usually a problem for me.
You can always trust the guy who puts his face on a t-shirt.
Why do you think we're selling t-shirts?
A tornado rating isn't based on size or speed. It's based on damage.
That's Tyler Owens, and he calls himself the Tornado Wrangler.
This movie's got so many great lines. It literally feels like the 90s again. That's such a great way to recreate a movie, is to like capture the feel of that period again.
The wind and conditions are perfect to the west. We're going east.
Twins! We got twins! Sorry about your ears.
Yeah, we're going to have to lower the volume for all of that there. Dude, this movie was a lot of fun.
So much fun. And my friends and family all the time say that I'm like stuffy, and because I like movies that are from A24 or whatever. I like movies from Martin Scorsese or what have you.
Yeah.
But
you're a film bro snob.
I'm not, though. I love fun movies, and this is a fun movie, especially one that's done well. You know, like this one settles into being fun, and it has cheesy moments. Like we just named a ton of cheesy lines, but in the best possible way.
Yeah, they land. They're appropriate for the moment. You're sitting there and you're like, oh, like that was a good line. They
Guess we're listening to Danny lines now.
It was about the story. It fit. You know, it didn't seem out of place. They set a tone and they stuck to the tone the whole time. And even though part of it was cheesy, it's not a cheesy movie. It's a good movie.
No, man, I felt the emotional stakes really, really well in this movie, and the chemistry and relationship between the two leads was so strong. So I feel like that stuff kind of pulls you back in, whereas if it was just cheesy and the other parts didn't land, you wouldn't be feeling the pull. You know, that scene, we'll talk about it later, the scene in the pool, I was gripped. You know, I was locked into my seat.
That was a fantastic scene.
Yeah, it's amazing.
We did a trailer reaction to this movie when the trailer first dropped. And from what I remember, we were like, why do we need this movie? No one asked for this movie. Like, this is dumb. Who's going to go see Twisters?
Do we need more remakes? I mean, I think if I recollect correctly, we said the trailer looked cool, but like the question was, is it necessary to keep doing this?
Is it going to have any draw? You know,
I feel like the original Twisters was ahead of its time. And then now we have even more technology to make these natural disasters look even cooler on screen. So I see the need now looking back. I mean, maybe I was short-sighted when we did our trailer reaction because it was loads of fun. I loved the movie and it looked great.
I agree. Like as more and more stuff came out about the film, like the actors, the publicity, but it's not really publicity. It's the actors were like doing interviews and they were putting out behind the scenes content and all that stuff.
Press tour.
Yeah, like the hype was starting to build, and I was starting to climb on board. You know what I'm saying? As we were getting closer and closer, I was like, yeah, I'm going to see this movie.
I'm on the Glenn Powell train full steam ahead. I mean, watching Hitman drop on Netflix had me all the more excited for
I
this
feel
movie
like
to
that
come
helped
out.
a lot. Didn't
Yeah,
it?
because that movie was great. And
Yeah.
he's just got so much charisma, so much magnetism, as the kids say, so much riz.
Ooh. Ooh, yeah, hit him,
We're a
Andrew.
little old for the lingo, but man, he's cool, man. He's like, what would you say he's like the modern day equivalent of who like Brad Pitt just always cool in the 90s and early 2000s. Brad Pitt's still cool.
Yeah.
But I mean, I feel like Glenn Powell slide into that cool guy spot. I mean, if they were going to remake Fight Club, he'd be a pretty cool guy for Tyler Durden. I don't want them to remake Fight Club. Please never do that.
Well, he reminds me a little bit of Chris Evans or
Yeah, he fits into that really well.
who was the other guy I was thinking about?
What, Hemsworth or?
Not Hemsworth. There was another guy. Oh, maybe like a Henry Cavill kind of guy.
Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds. Yeah.
No one's like Henry Cavill.
I hear you. I hear you. He's good looking
That's a
though.
lot of man.
He's good looking. Okay. Ready to get into the review of this movie?
Yeah, before we start, we're going to go over some details about the movie, get into our rating system, but I do want to ask you guys to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, the notification bell. We've been dropping extra episodes, especially lately, so make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our extra content. Make sure to go onto our social media platforms and follow us on all of those. You do want to make sure you are with us on everything, guys. We post short form content every day, long form content we post every Monday and Thursday, sometimes more. So thanks for clicking on this video. We love you and we appreciate you. And we're going to get into talking about the movie.
Boom. Twisters came out in 2024, just dropped last weekend. It's rated PG-13. It's 2 hours and 2 minutes long. IMDb has it at a 7.1 out of 10. And if we go over to Rotten Tomatoes, the tomato meter for the critics has it at a 76. And then the audience score, Andrew, a 92. People are loving this movie.
We got twins!
The budget for this film on IMDb is listed at an estimated $155 million, but I've heard a lot of other reports of it being $200 million. Hadn't you?
151 million is what's being reported on IMDb now, right?
Yeah, 155.
155. I feel like I could see the movie being made on either. You know, it does have a lot of star power and a lot of special effects. I could believe it's a $50 million gap, which is huge. I can believe they got it done a little bit cheaper. I mean,
everywhere else I've heard 200.
I believe they did film in Oklahoma, and filming in Oklahoma has to be cheaper than obviously like New York or these metropolitan areas that are more expensive to film.
Yeah, some of the behind the scenes of that is they were filming on set in a lot of locations, and they actually had to postpone filming on multiple days because of the weather got so bad, because they were also filming in the correct season. So then the writer's strike happened.
Guys, if you don't face your fears, you ride them. God dang it, what are you doing? What are you wrapping up for?
I know that you don't have to CGI it.
Yeah,
if you just
wrangle them.
Go through the tornado and shoot the fireworks through a real tornado. It saves you money.
Those must have been days that Glenn Powell wasn't on set. I'll tell you that.
What do you think the stunt people are for?
Dude, I don't know. They sent them into the tornado.
Yeah, that's what their job
is.
They
love to do stuff.
They
like
signed up for this.
I don't know, like, I'm telling you, man, if Glenn Powell was on set, he would just wrangled the tornado. So those must have been days
he would have caught it for sure.
Yeah, he must have been busy. I think it's two. You gotta get this.
Is it 2?
Yeah.
But they had to postpone multiple days, and then the writer's strike happened actually. So then they had to take a few months off. And then when they got back to filming, it was in 2023 in the winter. They were back in like late November, maybe early December, and it's freezing. And they're wearing their like summer clothes that they were wearing in the movie. So they were so cold. And I heard from behind the scenes stuff that they actually had the actors put in an ice cube in their mouth before their lines, so their breath would be the same temperature, so you wouldn't see a puff of air coming out of their mouth.
Interesting. I didn't know.
I didn't know that's how that works.
It's a clever trick.
Makes sense though.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it seems evident that they filmed all across a long period, because I'm telling you, I thought Daisy Ridley, Daisy Edgar Jones.
I got to hear. Hold on. We didn't do our acting part. Yeah, you're right.
Daisy Edgar Jones, I thought her hair looked different lengths towards the end of the movie. And I know there's a flashback at the beginning, or a 5-year time jump, but I'm talking about from the 5-year time jump to the end, I think her hair length was different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you leaned over to me and was saying that. Okay, we did all of my portion of this part. So
Did we
now
talk
we're
about
going
the
to
budget?
go. Oh, yeah, we didn't do the box office.
We didn't do the box office.
Box office, thank you. box office right now on IMDb, which could be wrong if they got the budget wrong. So whatever. But this is the Thursday after it comes out. So it's already been a week. And it's already at $156.5 million.
That is a crazy crushing it for this movie. That they vastly exceeded the expectations for their box office, because I think they were expecting to make like half of this in their opening weekend. And the word of mouth is super positive. Everyone loves the cast. The chemistry in the movie is really good. So this movie just blew up over the weekend, and it had to get a good opening weekend in, because you know what comes out the week after Twisters?
Deadpool and Wolverine. Brutal.
You can't really compete. Nobody can compete with that. Have to be
But
like,
I still think people are gonna keep going to watch this movie.
the word of mouth is
like I was talking to people at the gym about it. They were asking like, "Hey, how was it? Is it worth going to see?" And I was like, "Heck yeah, definitely go see it. It's got awesome characters, great acting, cinematography is great. The effects look awesome. I don't think we'll get in more to this too. I don't think they overdid the effects either.
Yeah.
And then the soundtrack is amazing, which we'll talk about too.
I love the soundtrack.
I know you're excited
I
for that portion. So yeah, like I was like, definitely go and see this movie.
I predict a steep drop off though. I think the next week will see probably 60% or more drop off.
Yeah.
It might still have a few healthy weeks. I have an interesting fun fact for the audience and for you, Aaron.
Ooh.
So the original Twisters came out in 1996.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. This is a legacy sequel to that movie.
That's also when I came out.
Never mind. That's when he was born. So the original Twister has a budget of $92 million. So depending on what budget you believe, it might only be 60 million less. And it had a worldwide gross at the end of its box office run, $494 million. Very healthy, great box office return even by today's standards. But when you do the math for inflation from 1996 to 2024, the actual amount earned, hear this is crazy, $987 million when accounted for inflation. That's how successful the first Twister was, the film with Helen Hunt in 1996.
If you feel it,
chase it! That's how they felt it. They chased it. They were like, we're chasing this back to the box office, baby.
That's crazy. That's great. Did I act surprised enough for you?
Yeah, you did good.
Okay, good. I already knew that. That's that. That's a lot of money. And I guess that is why they thought it was a good idea to make this sequel. And it's not really a sequel. There's no real elements from the first. There's like a little bit of
I would say Easter eggs. There's like 4 Easter eggs that I caught, which I can name now or later.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I have them in my notes. One of them is the super obvious one that anybody can catch, is that in the opening of Twisters, you'll notice that Dorothy is present. Dorothy 4, which is the machine that they use to map the cycle of a tornado. They kind of get a blueprint of it because these little things fly up into it and they track their route and map a tornado, basically. So it's the 4th one, the only one surviving left, because the other ones were destroyed in the plot of the first Twister movie. One of the other things I noticed is the end of this movie, spoiler alert, we're going to be spoiling Twisters, they're in a movie theater, which is a reference to the first movie where they were at a drive-in. In the first movie, in the first movie, The Shining was playing, and in Twisters, the new movie, Frankenstein was playing. So they have horror movies playing in the theater in both movies, and then a tornado rips through the screen and tears that wall off the building, or it tears apart the screen at the drive-in. And then there's a reference in terms of writing. One of the characters in Twisters says, "We're going into the suck," which is a line from Philip Seymour Hoffman's character. He uses a lot in Twisters, saying "into the suck zone," going into the suck. And those are the major things that I noticed. Obviously, like there's smaller references. Like,
was that 4?
Or that was 3. Obviously, okay, hold on.
You let me down.
I would say it's also a reference, the overall plot with the like kind of ragtag group of tornado chasers going after the corporate sponsored group.
Obviously, that's the same.
It's like
there's tornado chasers in both. No, but of course.
But it's the same setup and plot in both movies, as they're both racing each other. But now they've added these extra twists and elements, like Twisters.
They added a whole extra twist.
They changed it in this movie because they're trying to like kill a tornado with this compound that Daisy Edgar Jones' character created.
Trying to tame it.
Trying to wrangle it.
Okay. Now it's time for a portion where we talk about the creators of this film, both in front of and behind the camera. Andrew, who made this film?
All right. So this movie is directed by Lee Isaac Chung. I think he did a phenomenal job directing this movie. It was a whole lot of fun, like we said. Lee Isaac Chung, known for directing Minari, which is a really popular A24 film. And some of these other ones, I don't know how popular they are, but I've seen My Last Born, Abigail Harm, Lucky Life. Minari, very, very popular movie, super high rating on Letterboxd. And our writers include Mark L. Smith, Joseph Kosinski, who I believe director of Top Gun Maverick.
Yep. He was originally on to direct this film because he's also done like a bunch of sequels.
Maybe he
right?
just got wrapped up with F1.
He did.
Yeah, that's why I would imagine.
He moved on, yeah. So he directed Top Gun Maverick, which is a legacy sequel. And then didn't he also direct Tron Legacy? Tron Legacy.
I'm not sure.
I think he did.
I'll have to count on you for that one. So the actual screenplay, though, is written by Mark L. Smith. Joseph Kosinski has a story credit, and then Michael Crichton and Anne-Marie Martin have characters created by credits because they were writers on the original Twister film. Michael Crichton, if you didn't know, the original writer of the book for Jurassic Park, and he helped write the movie Jurassic Park. So he's a legend. Let's see. I want to get to our music. Music's by Benjamin Wallfish. Look him up if you don't know who he is. He's done a lot of very popular movie scores. Cinematography by Dan Mindell, a name that I personally don't recognize. Sorry, Dan. And then let's get to our cast. Oh, wait, I didn't do editing. Editing is by Terralyn A. Shropshire.
Boom.
Terralyn, I hope I said your name right. Now, the cast of this movie, obviously, like we said, includes Daisy Edgar Jones as Kate, Glenn Powell as Tyler Owens, Anthony Ramos as Javi, Brandon Perea as Boone. Boone is a big part of this movie. Maura Tierney, Kathy, who is the mother of Daisy Edgar Jones' character. And let's see, is there anybody else? Kiernan Shipka's in the beginning of this movie. Nick Dodani is Praveen in this movie. If you don't know Nick Dodani, he's from Atypical. And then the man, the myth, the legend himself, David Cornsweet's in this movie. Dude, Superman's in this movie.
Who is that guy?
I thought he was going to be in it. He's not in the trailer, is he?
I don't remember. I knew he was in this film.
I literally didn't know.
I heard about it. I knew he was in this film. I saw an interview that said, or Glenn Powell was talking, saying that he actually got the job Superman on set for Twisters. So they were all like excited for him and stuff.
That's so cool.
But when I was watching the film, I didn't recognize him at all until afterwards when me, you, and Zach were walking out of the theater and he's like, bro, what did you think of Superman? And I was like, oh my gosh. You're right. That was David Cornsweet. I totally forgot that was him.
I literally was thinking in my head because when they first showed him, he's wearing a hat.
Yeah,
I think, and I was like,
glasses.
I was like, is that David Cornsweet?
That's how you know that the Superman glasses and hair different actually works.
It doesn't take much
because he fooled me the entire film. I didn't recognize him.
Yeah, so, I mean, I guess my question for you following cast real quick is who impressed you the most in the cast?
Glenn Powell.
You are damn right. It was Glenn Powell. Glenn Powell was amazing in this movie.
I like Daisy, too. I thought she was great.
Well, the two of them made the movie. Their relationship
chemistry.
was what was so strong.
Absolutely.
But when Glenn Powell showed up, I will say I enjoyed the movie far more from the introduction of Tyler Owens on.
Yeah, I like the intro. The intro, the first, 10 minutes or so of the film is like a flashback and doesn't have Glenn Powell in it.
But then they kill off like these actors that I really like Nick Dodani.
I did like the three actors that they killed off. I thought the group of them had really good chemistry.
Yeah, I love the way they call back to the beginning throughout the movie. I mean, you'll notice as we'll segue into story. Are you ready?
Yeah, so we break down films in 6 different categories. This helps us make sure we touch upon every aspect of filmmaking because there's so much that goes into it. This also helps us take out maybe a little bit of our first impression bias of a film and be slightly more objective. And the first category that we have is story, and that's out of 10 points. So you want to go ahead and say our scores?
Yeah. I gave it a 6 out of 10.
Wow, I gave it a 7.5.
Yeah, I think that
6 was a lot lower than I was expecting you to say.
There are elements that I liked about the story, and what I was going to say as I was leading into story was I really liked how they used this kind of post-traumatic stress disorder effect of her kind of being shell-shocked from her traumatic past experience, losing her friends in that huge category 5. Excuse me. Tornado. Oh my goodness. Tornado in the opening of the film. But overall, the story is really simplistic, which isn't a bad thing. A movie like this is perfect.
But it's really well done.
It's well done, but it's the same story as the first movie. I couldn't give it too much higher of a score with it being really similar. I mean, there's the advent of this new chemical that's like dissipating the tornadoes and her driving right into the tornado. But the journey throughout, like all beforehand of them going head to head with this rival that's like a really corporate company, it felt really reminiscent of the first movie. It's not necessarily a bad thing. You want to touch on what made audiences love that first movie so much to earn it $500 million. But yeah, I just wasn't super in love. I was more in love with the performances, the chemistry of the characters than I was with like.
But in the car, you were talking about how much you loved the script. That you thought it was a good script.
Well, I love that the script. I love that the script was like cheesy, good fun. Like I love that it was good time.
Yeah.
You know.
See, I haven't seen.
I can like something.
I haven't seen the first one.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why it kind of elevated. But from what
I
I've
think
heard,
this is better than the first one. For me.
I've heard that's the common consensus.
I don't think the first one is that good at all.
That's also what I've heard. So I really enjoyed it. I thought it was funny. I felt the emotion on the scenes that I was supposed to. Yes, like we talked about, it was a little cheesy, but I thought it was a good amount of cheesy where it was just fun.
I mean, I thought
the stakes were real, and I liked all of the characters. There wasn't like any like point where I was like, ah, gosh, like why is this person on screen kind of thing.
This is one where I could be convinced to raise my score. I mean,
I think you should. It deserves at least like a 6.75.
Let me raise it up. Let me give it a. Yes. I'll give it a 7.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. If you feel it, chase it.
This is. I mean, it's going to be one of the most fun movies of the summer. I have to imagine I'm going to have more fun in Deadpool and Wolverine, but it's so much fun, this movie. And for that, maybe I was just being hypercritical because it is cheesy.
You were in the persona that a lot of your friends and family thought that you were, and then I pulled you out of there, man. I pulled you back to your senses. So we got a 7 and a 7.5 on the story.
Yeah, I think a 7 is fair. The story's loads of fun. I like how
I feel like a 7 is like the bare minimum, you know, for like a good movie. Like if the movie's good, it's probably got a 7. A 6, that's like a bad kind of story, you know.
There's so much room below a 6, though. Like if a 6 is horrible, then what's a 3? You know?
I know. I hear you, but still, that's really low. All right, ready to go to our next category, acting?
Let's do it. I mean, do we need to talk about any other elements of the story? Let's go to acting.
Yeah, let's go to acting. All right, acting is our next category. This is also out of 10 points. This includes, of course, the actor's performance, but also like the stunt work that these actors and stunt people are performing throughout the film. I gave the acting an 8 out of 10. What did you give it?
I give the acting a 7.5 out of 10.
Gosh, why are you so low?
That's not that low.
I know. I had a lot of fun with this movie. I thought Glenn Powell was amazing. His chemistry on screen was fantastic. Not even with the other characters, but just him himself.
Well, let's be real.
So good.
This movie's riding off the performances of the 2 leads.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's strongly riding. It's not like a Dune Part 2 where everybody's bringing it.
I don't think anyone else's performance is taking away, though.
No, but there's the lines like, it's hard to really give this amazing performance when you're getting a setup like, hey, can you rig this drone to collect data? And you're like, yeah, of course I can.
That's so funny.
It's a little goofy. It's a little silly, but it's fun, you know? It's just not, it's not 9-10 category.
Yeah, that's more into the story than the acting.
I'm saying when the story is like that, you're not going to give a Daniel Day-Lewis performance, is what I'm saying.
I also thought all the stunt work was really good in this film.
The stunt work was awesome.
When you see like the tornado coming at them and stuff, and you see people getting ripped off the ground, like they have stunt people hooked up to these huge cranes with wires, and they're actually getting yanked in the Oklahoma field. You know, they're flying through the air, and it looks really good.
But that's what I'll say for the first movie's credit as well. There's great shots in the first movie where awesome stunt work is being done. There's a part in the first movie, I know you said you haven't seen it, where they drive through a house. So a house literally tumbles into the middle of the road, and in their truck, they drive through the house. And what they must have done was just have multiple room setups, because there's a shot of like multiple rooms, one room at a time, and you see the truck go through it.
That's cool.
They must have practically done that. And then there's shots too where the main characters, Bill Paxton's character and Helen Hunt's character, are hanging on to like this metal pipe that's stuck into the ground. They're both hanging on to it, and they like wrap something around and hang on, and the wind pulls them where their legs come parallel to the ground and then higher, And that
Yeah.
looks practical too.
Super
So
cool.
awesome practical shots, awesome stunt work. And then this movie had awesome stunt work like that too. So the first movie does deserve credit for scenes like that. It's just, there's parts in it that are so boring to me that don't make up for the awesome.
In the first
cool,
one?
Yeah, in the first one,
Yeah.
that don't make up for the cool turn. I just wanted to come back and compliment the first movie a little bit.
Anything else that you want to talk about in acting?
I mean, just, dude, every
Yeah.
time Glenn Powell was on screen,
Yeah, it was great.
his little smirk.
He didn't even have a shirt off or anything. It
Dude,
was just all him.
when he's walking through the rain in the white tee and,
Dude.
and his shirt's getting wet,
Woo!
that's
Sexy
steamy
man.
right there.
Sexy
Steamy.
man.
Dude, I was like a tornado. Could not tear me away from this man. Category 5.
All right, our next category is cinematography. This is one of my favorite categories that we talk about when breaking down a film. This includes a lot, man. So we have shot selection, we have composition, we have the special effects CGI, we have also the color grade, the edit for the film, how they decided to cut the film together. So there's a lot going on. One of Andrew's favorite parts of cinematography is camera movement. I gave this an 8.5 out of 10. I thought they did a phenomenal job getting awesome shots of the storm, of the trucks going through the center of the tornadoes. We had different locked off shots on the trucks. And I thought, I can't even think of a shot necessarily where I was thinking like, oh, wow, this is like clearly on green screen. Like it looked legitimate the whole time, even when they're just in the car, which we know they were on set for a lot of these shots and locations. I thought the CGI looked fantastic throughout the whole film. The tornadoes, the fire tornadoes, the fireworks going into the tornado, everything looked phenomenal. You have to think too, probably 90% or more of every shot of the sky was replaced after the fact.
Yeah, there was very noticeable shots in the first movie, obviously made in 1996, where they were standing in like an open field and the sky behind them is completely pitch dark. And I would look at it as very evident green screen because they can't just wait for the thunder to roll in and hope they can get shots in before it actually starts raining. That's not how filming works. But for this movie, it looks fantastic. You know, almost 30 years later, of course, they've made huge advancements in technology. And some of the shots were just super creative. They had, so by the way, I give an 8 out of 10. So just 0.5 behind you. But some of the shots, like my favorite ones are the ones that are attached to the side of the trailer that was holding all of the compound to
Those really cool, especially when they turn. You can see the side of the truck.
And you can see the tornado in those shots because she's approaching it. So those are my favorite shots. And you can tell they liked them too because I think they used them like 3 times in the movie. But those are some of my favorites. What I really wanted to see for the movie that they didn't end up doing, and I leaned over to you and said this, I believe, which is I wanted a shot imagining a camera like stuck to, you know, a shingle on a roof, and then the camera gets ripped off and goes into the storm, and you see it like spinning in a whirlpool. I wanted like a shot from the perspective of debris.
POV,
that would be so cool.
That is
so
cool. That's actually coming in. Twisters cubed, squared.
That's coming when we try to make Twisters.
Yeah, exactly.
When we try to do our shot for shot remake.
Dude, let's go. What else was I gonna say? I had something in mind. I really liked the edit. I thought was good, very cohesive. I liked the color grade. The color grade looked good. This is what I want to say. They shot this on film, which you would think it'd be a lot easier in this scenario to shoot digitally because they're going to be doing a lot of CGI shots with like the sky, obviously the tornado. But yeah, they shot on film, and everyone on set was kind of excited that they were shooting on film and stuff.
For people who aren't familiar with the difference with digital, it's really easy to take the footage out of the camera and just play it on like a monitor. It's a little bit more complicated to do with film. Sometimes people don't have the footage until like the next day to go back and look at it. And then it's hard to go back and get those shots depending on your schedule if it doesn't look the way you wanted it to.
Also with digital, you can take as many shots as you want, as many retakes of shots as you want.
And it's cheaper to do so because with storage is different.
With film, you have 1, maybe 2 attempts. So like that big scene at the end when they're like flooding the street because that water tower fell, like they only had a few takes to actually do that. Also, the reset of that set is insane, you know? So, like, you got to nail those kind of high-pressure shots on the first time.
You think they shot that practically with water?
They did.
They did?
Yeah. Like, that water in the street when they were, like, walking into the movie theater, like, all that water was actually on set. They had jet engine fans on set that's blowing wind at them. Just a jet engine just flying at their face with wind and water.
Incredible behind the scenes for this movie. Did you know?
And there's like actually debris like flying around them, so they're having to dip, dodge, and dive around.
Dodge and dive. That's dip, dodge, dive. Is that from Dodgeball?
Yeah.
You can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. Just because I'm thinking of it now, this is a fun fact. Did you know that the original script for this movie, it was going to take place in LA, and it was going to be largely about climate change and how that's affecting increase in natural disasters, which tornadoes are not common in LA.
Right.
I mean, they commonly deal with earthquakes and things like that. But that would have been, I think they made a really positive rewrite. I think the initial script was trying to go for something maybe like political,
a little
even.
more political, yeah.
Which, hey, I'm the first person to say that global warming should not be political. It's science.
Yeah.
But I think they were going to kind of go to angling it more that direction and maybe bringing awareness to issues and things like that. And they were like, no, this is like a summer blockbuster. Let's move it from LA to Oklahoma. And let's have it focused on kind of small town things and tornadoes and Tornado Alley. Yeah, it was just a little bit more fun. And I think they, brilliant choice. The movie was just loads of fun because they changed that direction like that.
Absolutely. You already talked about some of your favorite shots.
There was another shot that I really liked, which was the oneer in the pool.
Yes. That's what I was going to bring up next.
That was my favorite scene in the whole movie, and we already touched on it earlier in the episode, but they follow the whole time they're down in the pool. Glenn Powell gets nice and low, and he's crawling over to the other guy saying, stay low, stay low. Huge storm coming in overhead. We're debris flying by. I think that like a vending machine falls down into the pool. And so we're low to the ground, which is a super cool angle on the shot because you feel like you're in the perspective of someone. You feel like you're scrunched down in the pool, really putting you in their shoes, and you're nice and tight on Glenn Powell. You get a little bit of pan over to that other guy as he gets swept up into the storm, and then you follow back with Glenn Powell as he gets to Daisy Edgar Jones. She pulls him in, and then the camera wraps around and goes face onto them with the storm behind them. Their body's taking up most of the frame at this point, and just barely a little bit in the background where you can see like some rain and it's not very clear, but the focus of the story at that moment is on the characters, which is a really cool beat. You don't need to see the storm because their acting is telling the story for you. Their reaction to the storm is informing the intensity of the storm. And it's super emotional because you also have in the little bottom left-hand corner this family, this mother and I think daughter that they're saving, that they're protecting. And the mother's telling the daughter, like, I've got you, don't worry, I've got you, you're safe. And in like this ringing in her ears is forming. Daisy Edgar Jones is having her flashback to her experience that really shocked her to her core, losing her fiance husband, her love of her life. And that's the last thing he was saying to her as he got ripped away from a Category 5 storm. So she's hearing his voice and she's just weathering out the storm. We get the intensity on her face, on Glenn Powell's face. They're both like starting to shed tears. And it's such an impactful moment in the film. It's beautifully filmed. You stay with them the whole time so you really feel in it. That was the most in the movie I felt the whole movie. And when the storm like let up and they like stepped out and they were kind of like had tears of relief and they're like kind of their breath is settling, you felt relief as an audience member. So that I think is what movies are about, to have you so wrapped up in the movie where you're experiencing the emotions with the character, and beautifully done to have us all in the theater locked in that moment.
Absolutely. That was very well said. That was my favorite moment of the film as well.
Dude, it felt so much. And they did such a good job with their acting on their face, like hugging onto that pole for dear life.
Yep.
In that moment, I was so believing that they were trapped in a storm.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wish I could ever perform like that.
All right, let's end cinematography there. That's as high as it gets. Moving on to sound design. This category we are really excited to talk about for this film in particular. Sound design includes the soundtrack, the score, and all of the Foley work, which is your sound effects that you hear. So a lot of storm sound effects, winds, and all of that were included in this film, obviously. Andrew, what did you give the sound design for Twisters?
I think I got to move it up, honestly. I don't want my overall score to go up this much.
Dude, if it's that good, come on.
If you feel it.
Yeah, you rate it properly.
I'm going to give the sound design a 9 out of 10.
That's what I gave it. What did you have it before?
8.
Yeah, it deserves a 9, man.
I think it deserves a 9.
You've been bopping with it for a week now. We had it on in the car today when we were running errands, going places. Like, that's a sound design that like sticks with you, you know? Like, you felt the emotion of excitement when Glenn Powell's in his truck cutting off the other crew, driving straight into that tornado. But then they also have emotional songs where we're going back to Oklahoma, back to the home. We're with our mom,
Put
you know, we're in our home.
home in
Yeah.
Oklahoma.
Yeah.
But
You were
can't take
jamming
it
with
out of
those
me.
songs. And then on top of that, the soundtrack and the Foley work was really good at bringing you into the moment.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I've been listening to these songs and I love them, especially Luke Combs.
I don't listen to country, and I like these songs.
This
a lot.
movie reignited a passion in country that I haven't had since like elementary school. I mean, I was like, I'm gonna start listening to country again, dude. The Luke Combs song, which is "I Keep Chasing Those Same Old Devils."
Dude, it's such a good song.
It's a bop. It's
Yeah.
so good. Blast the volume on that song.
Yeah.
I think it's Tyler Owens is playing that in his truck at one point. Maybe when they first pull up and he
I
steps
think
out.
that's where it is.
Feel it.
Yep.
Like, oh man, that song is so good. And there's like a dozen good songs on the track. If you listen to the soundtrack, it's great. And then if you listen to the score itself is so varied. Like the score accomplishes so many different emotions without taking you out of the film. I was like listening intently for it so I could hear it. But like the score has intensity moments. It has light beats. It has more rock beats, and it has more like strings and or piano beats. Like the score is extremely varied. Benjamin Wallfish absolutely crushed it with the original score for the movie. I feel like the score really enveloped me in the movie too. Like if you looked over at me, even when it wasn't a song playing, it was a score. Like literally probably half of the length of the movie, I was rocking back and forth in my seat because they're like driving into a tornado and it's like, I'm like, yeah. They had me like, I'm like, dude, I'm about to go be a storm chaser.
I think it definitely deserves a 9 for sound design for this film. One of the first things Zach said when we got out of the theater was, dude, that soundtrack was awesome. You remember that?
Yeah, and I feel like
was
Zach,
feeling it
Zach
too.
doesn't usually think about soundtracks, I don't feel like.
Right. Exactly. Yeah,
but he noticed it.
I think this one stuck out to me as well, and it definitely deserves a 9. So far, it is the highest category for us both. Are you ready to move on to our next category?
Yeah, I think we said a lot about that. We're ready to go.
Yeah, we were pretty excited.
Good job, Benjamin Wallfish.
Our next category is set and character design. So this kind of includes like the intention behind where they're at, where they're shooting, what they're filming, what it looks like, also with what the characters are wearing, why they're wearing it, and all of that. This is only out of 5 points, Andrew. What'd you give it?
I gave it a 3.5 out of 5.
Okay, solid choice. I gave it a 4 out of 5. I thought it was a great decision for them to go film in Oklahoma on set where these tornadoes commonly occur. So much so that it made their production, had to come to a halt a few of the times that they were out there.
Yeah.
But it made it feel authentic. Them flying through those cornfields and dirt roads, made it feel like, oh yeah, I'm a storm chaser right now.
There's 2 scenes where the character design is a 5 out of 5, and that's when Glenn Powell's walking through the rain in the white t-shirt with a cowboy hat.
Absolutely.
And when he's wearing the backwards baseball cap.
Yeah.
That's 5 out of 5. The rest of the movie is like, I haven't paid attention to anyone else's outfit in the whole movie, but his were noticeable.
I don't know. The decision to...
The location is really well done.
Yeah, and I really liked the rodeo that they went to.
It was a good location
and
as well.
how it like transitioned into them getting into the pool. I thought the pool was really cool, which we already talked
about. The little motel, the pool was a great location.
I also thought the trucks looked really cool.
Oh, the trucks were awesome.
The trucks were...
Did I say that to you during the movie?
Yeah.
I
think so. His truck especially.
Yeah, I liked both the trucks. But like the truck designed for this movie where Glenn Powell's truck has these specialized drills in the bottom of them that screw his truck into the ground so he can stay in one spot and the tornado won't rip his truck away. Awesome addition to the movie. It's like unrealistic as anything and cheesy, but so cool. Not cheesy in a bad way.
Well, they have trucks like that for storm chasing. Have you not seen those?
I've never seen that in my life. It seems like something out of a cartoon to me.
Yeah, no, look it up. They have
maybe not as unrealistic as I thought.
No, yeah, they have those drills where they go in. A lot of them look more like a tank where like the protection like kind of goes closer to the ground, and then they have like pins that drop into the floor to lock them into the ground.
But that wouldn't be as cool.
Yeah,
it's cool.
No, his looks more of like the redneck country truck. So like those are actually a thing.
But I like the trucks for the storm part people too. They were very clean, like white trucks with.
Also, his truck is hooked up with like rockets and stuff.
Yeah, fireworks.
Which I thought was like, oh, like they took liberties. Behind the scenes thing I was looking at of a storm chaser car, they actually have rockets on the car. I was like, oh my gosh, they they actually included that in the movie, and it's kind of legit. I don't know what they use them for.
Yeah.
Maybe to launch some sort of data points up in there, you know?
Can you rig it to collect data?
Yes, of course.
No, but the trucks were super cool. I mean, and that's another point to the sound design too. They sounded great.
Mhm.
I thought it's kind of like their Batmobile for storm chasers, you know,
Yeah.
their trucks. So they
Yeah.
were badass throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, so the combination of Glenn Powell's outfit, the trucks, and shooting on location, 4 out of 5 for me.
It deserves a good score.
It does.
I'm going to stick with my score on this one.
Dang it.
I'm not changing
Oh,
it.
so close.
I've
man.
changed 2 scores already.
I know that's got to be a record,
Yeah.
especially for you.
I'm not doing more.
Okay, rewatchability is our last category. This is a fun category because it's basically how often are you going to watch this film, you know? And the way we typically phrase this is if you're not doing anything else and someone asks you 5 times, different occasions to watch this movie, how many of those times are you going to say yes to watching Twisters, Andrew?
I give it a 3.5.
Nice. Yeah, that's pretty high. That's a good score. That means you're down with this movie.
I'm down to watch it more often than I'm not down to watch
Right.
it. Because it's just good fun.
I give it a 4 out of 5, man. Am I
Yeah.
crazy?
You love this
Am I
movie.
crazy?
I like
way
it a lot,
too much
too.
fun with this movie.
It was a
man.
blast, man.
It was just a good time. I really enjoyed the action, the comedy, but then you also feel like the emotion of it. Like the stakes are real and they're not just undermined with comedy. You know, like
Yeah.
when the storm's actually happening and it's a serious, tense moment, they dive into that emotion. But then when it's fun and you know, like when they're a little more in control and they're chasing and it's not by his town and stuff, they're just having a good time.
And it doesn't give you
And it's
emotional
fun.
whiplash either. It doesn't
Right.
feel like really drastic shifts. It's a smooth shift from dramatic to
Right.
relaxed.
Absolutely.
I have 2 points that I want to talk about before we wrap this.
Yeah.
One is, how do you feel about them cutting the kiss from the movie? And have you seen the
Mhm.
behind the scenes where there's footage of the
Them
kiss at the
kissing,
airport at the end of the movie?
It
It was a note apparently from Steven Spielberg, so just know that before you critique it.
a what?
A note from Steven Spielberg. He's a producer on the movie, and he said to not have the kiss in the movie.
Mm.
I think the idea is to keep something in the chamber for a sequel, maybe.
I didn't mind it. I thought it was fine not having the kiss.
I thought it was noticeably missing. Like, I was waiting for it, and then when it didn't happen, I kind of was like furrowing. Like, wait, what? Where's the kiss? Like,
I mean, I guess they hit a lot of the other cliches in the movie.
it just
you
felt
know,
like
so-
like that specifically at airport, right?
Yeah.
It's like a romantic comedy moment at airport. He plants his truck on the ground, awesome moment.
Yeah.
Runs inside to go chase up to her and doesn't kiss her.
Yeah.
Felt anticlimactic to me. It's like,
Hey man, he's a little nervous, man.
or she doesn't kiss him either
He's a
way.
little
Like,
nervous. Yeah.
I thought there should have been a kiss there. It would have wrapped up the movie nicely. I don't get the idea of holding off on a kiss if you're going to do a sequel. I'm not going back to the next movie just to see them kiss. I'm going back for like awesome tornadoes. And
Yeah. I hear it both ways. I'm cool with either, honestly.
yeah,
I don't think it took me out of the movie necessarily.
I mean, it made me think a little bit, but
Yeah.
it's not a terrible thing. It's not this some big slight, you know.
Yeah.
But it did feel missing to me. The behind the scenes, the kiss looked good. Like they have good chemistry. The
Yep.
two actors.
Yep.
Glenn Powell has chemistry with like a wooden chair.
Yeah. You had 2 points, didn't you?
The second point, if I can remember, hold on, let me Jimmy Neutron brain blast. I wanted to ask you. This is kind of going back to story. Did you feel like it was super unrealistic how they made Oklahoma this hell on earth where you can't go anywhere anytime ever without being just smacked in the face by a tornado?
Yeah, they made it seem like it's all happening very like day to day.
They were
They were
saying
hitting
like
tornadoes all the time.
they were making a big plot point of that it's getting worse and more common.
Yeah.
But like these people we followed in the story were always in the same place together, and there was never like 6 hours of time where they weren't in line of sight of a tornado forming.
Yeah. It didn't take me out of the movie. You know, like I'm there to see them chase
Yeah.
tornadoes. So like
Yeah, I
if
would
there was more time in between tornadoes or they're like just sitting there for a long time, I would have been like, yo, like, what are we doing
Yeah.
here? This is Twisters. There's twins out
Yeah.
there. Like,
There's
why are we
twins.
just sitting waiting
I think
for a tornado?
I think the way that I would say it is like I was thinking like, damn, another tornado is there?
Yeah.
But also like I don't want to see less action and less tornadoes in a
Yeah.
blockbuster film. So
Yeah.
it's great that they just put more and more in there.
Yeah.
Get rid of reality sometimes. Like it's
Yeah.
it just make
Say it's a
good
little bit
game.
worse, you
Yeah,
know, like
make a good,
things
fun
are
movie.
picking up or whatever.
What'd you think about how of them just being like, The tornado to the west is also like so many tornadoes were going on that they were twice in the movie they choose between two different tornadoes, and in one of those instances there's two tornadoes on one side and one on the other. So they're choosing. There's three tornadoes going on, both in like line of sight of.
There was a lot, man, and I was there for it.
They should have just been following Daisy Edgar Jones the whole time. I don't know why they decided to go the other way.
That was before they knew they could trust her.
Final decision before we end the episode. Do you want to go east or west?
Ooh. Whatever way Daisy's going.
The headwinds are blowing east.
So then we're going west.
Exactly. Yeah.
Total score.
So my total score came to 7.7, which I think is really respectable.
And that's including
the changes.
The change. Okay. I had an 8.2.
I started at like a 7.4 or 3 or something. And then I went to 0.5 and then 0.7.
Yeah. I had an 8.2.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the film a lot.
It's a great movie. We're not really far off from each other.
No, we're not. We're pretty close.
We're half a point away from each other.
Yep. Is that it?
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed this movie. I thought the cast made it a lot of fun.
Dude, this episode was high energy.
Yeah, dude. We enjoyed the movie a lot.
Heck yeah, we did.
So, thank you guys so much for watching. We appreciate you. We love you. Remember, if you feel it,
chase it.
And remember, if you feel it, remember to like, follow, subscribe. Hit us up on all of our social media platforms. We're on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all over all the socials. Make sure to check us out on Spotify. You can give us a 5-star rating on there, and that'll help the show get seen by more people. Make sure to share us with friends and family, because that is the best way to help the show grow organically. Also, we do have a Discord, but it comes at a high, hefty price. Aaron, that is?
The Discord is free.
Totally free. Make sure to get in there, mix it up, and we can take episode topic suggestions in there, so we'll get around to those as quick as we can if you give us them. And we like to just talk about movies and shows and chop it up, and the conversation's been running really well in there lately.
We also post a little bit of like behind the scenes of upcoming projects, short films, and all of that.
So if you go in there, you can see a little bit of a teaser for one of our next projects coming up. That's like a bigger project rather than just an episode of the show.
Yeah, it's a bigger project, but it's coming out in a few weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that one's pretty cool. I'm excited for that. Thanks so much for watching, and that's a wrap.